Alright, so I'm making this video because it's been a little while and I haven't given an update on this whole entire case since I removed it to the federal court. I'm gonna try to make this as quick as possible. This case is literally getting so complex solely because of the reason that this juvenile, Warren County Common Pleas Juvenile Court, like, they literally want to continuously try to get away with violating my parental rights that I as a parent have and have never been terminated. And they literally like think that they can continuously get away with it and I'm not letting them. So, and if you're anybody with a case in a juvenile court who feels that your parental rights are being violated and you've never had your parental rights as a legal parent terminated, you shouldn't let them get away with it either. So anyways, I'm gonna try to make this quick as possible. Basically, I did my removal to the federal court. However, one piece of the story that I don't know if I mentioned yet or not, but before I did my removal to the federal court, I already had an appeal pending in the state appellate court. When I did my removal, I did file also in the state appellate court as well and motioned for my appeal to be stayed pursuant to the notice of removal to the federal court. The federal court pretty much came back and ended up remanding my case back down to the state court, basically with the reason that I currently have a pending appeal in the state appellate court. That was like their big reason of handing it back down to the state. Now, I know that a lot of people have told me, and I've seen a lot of people talk about how the federal courts don't really like to deal with the state courts matters. So I kind of like figured that might happen. However, the good news is that at least we're in the Supreme Court in regard to the case as a whole. So basically, federal court remanded it, kicked it back down to the state level because there is currently a pending appeal in the appellate court. So now the Common Pleas Juvenile Court has been stayed still. Anyways, so what I was saying is that the juvenile court is still at a stay because of the fact that the entire case is like basically pending in the Supreme Court, basically the appellate court. That is where we're at in this case. However, there is a little bit to this case that has made it a little bit more complex. And I want to make sure and make a point to put this piece of the puzzle out there to the whole entire public. That way everybody knows what's going on. And pretty much the reason for that is because, you know what, I've learned that these officials with these courts in the system, they would prefer everything to stay quiet because of their wrongdoing, because they're doing wrong. So therefore, if you're dealing with any wrongdoing in any sort of court, you need to do the exact opposite. I will do the exact opposite continually, and I will put these people on blast and expose them as much as I possibly can. But however, back to what I was saying, the little piece of this whole entire case that is kind of complicating it a little bit more. A few months back, my son is 10 years old and my 11-year-old daughter, basically him and her got into a little fight. You know how kids are, right? Like kids, siblings wrestle, especially when they are that close in age. So one day they get into a little fight. They're wrestling around, this, that, and the third. My mom was at work at the time, but they were at her house. They're wrestling around like kids do. And you know, I don't know, like, I think like, it wasn't anything serious. They were kids being kids. So what ended up happening off of that was my mom ended up coming home from work and basically seeing that my daughter had like scratches all over and my son did too. I will say this, my mother made a very big mistake because she ended up calling the police about it. Yeah, that was a mistake on her part, but we learned from our mistakes, so I'm looking past that. So when the police come, basically they make a whole thing out of it, of course. I feel like this whole entire system in Warren County is like cops, the court systems, all these people are like already prejudiced against me and my kids and our whole family as it is. So of course the police make a huge thing out of it. They wrongfully arrest my 11-year-old daughter for being a kid and wrestling around with her 10-year-old brother and her 10-year-old brother wrestling around with her. However, they ended up making my 11-year-old daughter the criminal and literally wrongfully arresting her and taking her to juvenile. They end up charging my daughter with domestic violence, literally end up charging her with a DV. But that wasn't enough. On top of charging her with a domestic violence, these fucking police charged her with a charge of strangulation as well, when nobody even said anything like that. Literally, nobody said anybody was strangled. Strangulation though? Are you fucking kidding me? Just a side note, it's very, very clear and evident that everything that they did to my daughter and how they charged my daughter is very clear and evident that this is in retaliation against me. You see, when this whole entire case started, as some of you guys may know, it started between an argument between my mother and I, like literally a verbal argument. And the same police arrested me wrongfully and took me wrongfully to jail, wrongfully charging me with domestic violence. As some of you guys might know, the outcome of these police charging me with a domestic violence was it didn't stick. They couldn't get it to stick because there was no domestic violence. Therefore, the charge was dismissed. So fast forward, and here we are with this situation that I just explained, and pretty much, of course, they literally are seeing perfect opportunity to retaliate against the fact that they could not make me out to be the criminal that they were trying to make me out to be. They couldn't fucking do it because I'm not a fucking criminal and I never ever committed domestic violence. Fast forward to today, and these people are literally, you know, from the point of when that incident happened with my daughter and son a few months, these cops and this court system are literally trying to retaliate because they couldn't make me to be the criminal and make some type of domestic violence charge stick with me, so now they're trying to do it to my daughter. However, this shit is 10 times worse, I would say, because of the fact that this court has intertwined and basically put these two separate cases, because mind you, we have this court case going on fighting against CPS in the juvenile division in Warren County Court. And then since that incident, now we have that case going on with my daughter, with them trying to falsely make her to be a criminal that she's not. She's an 11-year-old child. So aside from them and their wrongdoing and intermingling these two cases, one criminally charging my daughter with a domestic violence charge against my son wrongfully, then we have the CPS case going. They are intermingling the two cases together. Actually, matter of fact, they even put my daughter back in front of the same piece of shit, yes, I said it, piece of shit magistrate. And they put her in front of the same magistrate that is dealing with the CPS case that we're dealing with, that has shown continuously very evident and obvious bias toward me as a mother, and literally like is bias against me in the first place because I'm going against and not just letting their system fuck me. Better yet, going against and not just letting this entire system not just fuck me, but me and my children, more or less my children. Because I think a lot of us know that it's very well established that the juvenile corrupt court system, especially these people with CPS, they are all about the profit, as well as trafficking children. Lots of people have already established the fact that Child Protective Services is actually the exact opposite of that and are in the business of profiting off of children and also trafficking them. So let's go back to the fact that aside from continuously fighting for my parental rights that have never been terminated, my mother only ended up with temporary custody. Does not mean legal custody. And the only reason she ended up with it is because I was wrongly arrested when they tried to charge me with a domestic violence for getting into a verbal argument with my mother. Anyways, but my parental rights have never once been terminated, even in that corrupt ass court, because they know that they can't do that. They don't have grounds to terminate my legal parental rights. However, they want to continue to fuck around and try to make everybody believe that I don't have my legal parental rights. Actually, they literally continuously have tried to make my mother believe that she's got legal custody of my kids, which is wrong. She doesn't. She's got temporary custody. Actually, matter of fact, back when I still was ignorant and had an attorney last year dealing with this case, the attorney basically told me and led me in the wrong way and convinced me that if I formulate a plot and plan between my mother and I to have my mother petition the court for legal custody, because she doesn't have legal custody, I still have legal custody, but my attorney led me to believe that if her and I jump on the same page and petition for legal custody, that the court will grant it and it will shut down this whole entire bullshit case. So ignorantly, I listened to the advice of my attorney, steering me in the wrong direction. When I figured out that pretty much what my attorney advised me was not accurate and the court pretty much refuted that, and the CASA and CPS and everybody wanted to say that basically they're not going to give my mother legal custody because of the fact that they think that it's a plot to just turn right back around and give my kids to me and end this case. That was their reasoning, by the way, which they were right. I mean, yeah, that's what we were doing under the advice of my attorney. Anyways, it was a no-go, and basically in a nutshell, what ended up happening is I figured out that was just like a setup and a plot and a ploy because all these attorneys work together, and I fired my attorney. So what I'm trying to say and how that relates is that as far as the court had known, I actually helped my mom to fill out the paperwork to petition for legal custody. But yet I literally still have to continuously explain to these people in this court that my mom doesn't have legal custody when they already know that. Now, let's go to how this relates to what I'm talking about with this case about them trying to make my daughter a criminal and commingle everything. So I have parental rights. I have legal parental rights to my children. They've never been terminated. Therefore, that entitles me to a lot of different things. Right to education, right to healthcare, right to all these type of major decisions, and right to, if any of my kids have any legal issues, I, as their legal parent, with legal parental rights, have the right by law to make decisions in regards to legal issues, right? Well, this court continues to try to deprive me of those legal parental rights. So I found out that basically, actually, let's go to this first. In regard to this case, that they're intermingling and there's hella conflict of interest and they're just being on all kinds of shady shit. In this case, I filed a motion to dismiss this entire case in regard to this little freaking wrestling match that my daughter and son got into, and that my daughter was wrongfully charged with this domestic violence and strangulation that never happened and never even was said to happen. That came out of thin air, just I guess to thicken their plot or whatever. Anyways, so I filed a motion with the court basically to dismiss the case, and I also filed a motion to have the judge, not the magistrate, but the judge assigned to the case, and not let any type of hearings in regard to this case go in front of this magistrate. And I outlined the reasons by law why it's a conflict of interest and how it is a conflict of interest and how what they're doing is wrong. Not only are they continuously trying to put this entire matter in front of the same biased magistrate that has been dealing with the CPS case, but they also are having the corrupt ass CASA involved in the case too, of them trying to wrongfully convict my daughter. And also the CPS caseworker, they're having her involved in it too, which also is illegal, and lawfully they shouldn't be having the CASA or the CPS caseworker involved in this case, because it's solely a complete separate case. So, of course, in my motion to this court, I outlined all of those reasons, too, of why this case should be dismissed. I think I filed that motion with the court. I don't know. I need to look back on the date, but it's been a hot minute, and they are literally, still to this day, ignoring my motions that I filed. To this day, not only are they ignoring my motions in regards to this matter, but they also are still disregarding that I am my daughter's legal parent, and that I am the one they should be going to with any legal matters in regard to my daughter. So the last hearing we end up going to in regard to this matter with my daughter and son, basically, I think the last hearing was last month. Well, before we went to that hearing, I had also put in several different motions in regard to the case that they are still ignoring and still have yet to rule on. But we still had a hearing set up last month, even though I put those motions in. So we go into the court, and basically they have assigned this public defender to my daughter without my permission, without consulting with me, without my daughter's permission, everything. They're violating my rights, they're violating her rights. It's all kinds of fucked up. So anyways, we go in there, and then her attorney sits down to talk about this matter, and before he can say anything else, I explained to him, did you see the motions that I filed about how actually by law this case should not be going in front of this magistrate because it is a ginormous conflict of interest along with all the other things I've outlined. So this attorney acknowledges basically that I'm right, and he goes into the back room where they do their little secret meetings and talks with everybody and goes over that, and then basically in a nutshell came back out and was like, yeah, okay, so we're gonna set this out until April 29th. Well, here we are in April, and what's happened with this is the other day, I guess, they call my mom to set up some meeting with her, telling her that they want her to bring my son to speak with the prosecutor's office. So my mom ends up explaining to them, to the whatever prosecutor she was speaking with, my mother ends up telling them, well, you know, her son has told her, about this meeting. The reason why my mom had to explain that to them is because they were literally making a point to tell my mother that this meeting is only for her and him, and that I shouldn't be there. Literally trying to deprive me of my parental legal rights continuously. Straight up, with no shadow of a doubt, just straightforward. Tells my mom, oh, no, this is just for you and him. We need you to bring him in to the prosecutor's office because we only need to speak with him, and we don't need his mother to come while we do it. I'm going to play the video because we went to this meeting today. I'm gonna play the video for you of what happened at this meeting. And I think it's so hilarious because as soon as the first assistant prosecutor knew that they were being recorded, she literally said, we're done here. We have nothing else to say.
Hi, Lisa, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Hi, Adrian. Are you ready to come back with us? All right, thanks for coming. We appreciate it.
Sure.
So we're just going to have Ritza and Adrian come back since she has legal custody.
She doesn't have legal custody.
We've
She's got temporary custody.
We double checked that with CPS.
CPS isn't the court. If you can show me the court order where she's got legal custody, that's what she was petitioning for.
Okay, well, it's our understanding she has custody. So the prosecutor has asked me to deliver the news that Ritza and Adrian will just be back there.
Okay, well, this is being recorded, and you don't have consent to talk to my son without me because she doesn't have legal custody.
Can you weigh in on this?
Your mom still does have temporary custody.
Temporary,
Sarah, so
but I have legal rights.
I cannot
and
go,
parental
I cannot go
rights.
against what they're saying. They're telling you that you're.
They're saying it's according to what CPS is saying, and you're saying you can't go against what they're saying.
Again, you don't have custody of your child. She has temporary custody.
I
so
have
that's
parental
consent.
rights of my child.
I'm not going to argue with you what they're.
My
telling
parental
you.
rights have never been terminated.
Well, I'm not going to go against what they're saying.
They're saying they're going according to what you're saying.
Again, they know that Ritza has custody.
She's got temporary
That is
custody.
correct.
She's a temporary
They're not going to allow you
custodian.
to go back there with
Adrian, and that's what we're going to be okay with.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit there and say anything different.
Okay,
I'm not going to sit here and argue.
Well, just for the record, they do not have consent to speak with my son without me, who still has parental rights and have never been terminated of my parental rights.
Okay, I'll let you take it from here. Sure. Well, the prosecutor again has directed me just to have Ritza and Adrian come back. If you'd like to speak with him directly, I can go get him.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back. I'll come back with you.
People trying to violate people's rights, like always.
Are you?
She is the temporary custodian,
You're Adrian, and your name?
and my name's Sarah, and I'm his legal mother, who
I
has
understand.
parental rights.
So today, Grandma's legal custodian, so we're just gonna have her come back?
She's temporary custodian. I am his legal parent. I have parental rights to my son. They have never been terminated, ever.
Are you recording everything?
I am. And I made them that. I made them aware of it.
Do you have anything for me?
No.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
I'm recording everything.
I am. And I made them that. I made them aware of it.
Do you have to say anything for me?
No.
Okay, thank you.
So comment below and let me know what you guys think about this whole situation, or any input that might help. As for me, I'm gonna work on my filings in regards to all of this fuckery and deprivation of legal parental rights and everything that these people are doing. These people are literally like some sort of like gang. I swear. These people operate like a fucking mafia, not like a court that is for the justice of anybody. Like, it is comical. Like, at this point, it's literally comical what these people continue to try to do.